I'm back for my usual Tuesday morning Facebook Live. I had that whole Instant Pot week, and then I took last week off, which was probably good because I was sick with the crud, and you probably didn't want to see that anyway. So anyway, today, it is really cold here today. Like, it was -1, like my nose hairs were freezing kind of cold when going to the bus stop, and I just haven't been able to get warm since. So I'm going to make a Instant Pot porridge. It is paleo, so it doesn't include grains, so like this is a great alternative to oatmeal, or if you're just trying to get away from like having too many grains or something like that, it would be great. And it's a completely paleo and dairy-free, gluten-free, all of that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. The recipe is actually by Jennifer Robbins of Predominantly Paleo, and it's from her book, Paleo Cooking with Your Instant Pot. I shared a recipe during Instant Pot week of her beef stroganoff, and this is another recipe of hers. And I do have my own recipes, but I love sharing recipes of others who are just like phenomenal with being food bloggers and just like their information and like everybody that inspires me. So this is from Jennifer Robbins, and I'll go ahead and start. So because we're not using grains, there are different ways to get that kind of porridge, oatmeal kind of consistency in a kind of porridge. And one way is to, like, a lot of people like to use squash, a lot of people like to use cauliflower, or you can use nuts. And so this is a combination of nuts, coconut, and seeds, pumpkin seeds. So what we're going to start off with is a 1/2 cup of roasted, unsalted cashews. So I'm going to put them in here. Or the raw, sorry, not roasted. Raw. And then, let's see, a 1/4 cup of papitas, which are, they're pumpkin seeds. And you can see these. They're like basically shelled pumpkin seeds, so they don't have like the stuff that like really gets stuck in there. And you can buy these in any store typically. And if you're having a hard time finding them in the store, like if you look at the natural foods section, a lot of times in the snack section I find them lately. And then you're going to also do a 1/2 cup of pecan halves. And then a 1/2 cup of dried unsweetened coconut shreds. And you can get the recipe for this. I've left the link in the comments so you can easily get that. And so we're going to just go ahead and, so just the dried ingredients, we're going to put it in a blender. So we're going to blend it all up to make it kind of more of a same consistency. So this is going to get loud for a second, so excuse me. And I suppose you can probably do this in the food processor too if you don't have a blender like this. It's probably fine. And so you can see it's all about the same consistency now. Like the same pieces are the same size and everything. Just throw this in here. Move the blender out of the way. Alright, now this recipe is for the Instant Pot. Man, I got more rings for this and I need to actually use that. Hold on a second. Because it smells like the curry I made the other day, and that's not going to be good for a porridge. And this is like, you can buy these rings. They're like 3 for like $10 on Amazon. Just search for Instant Pot sealing rings, and they're so much better to like if you're going to be making curries and things that are very strong smelling in your Instant Pot. Then you can not have that same smell transfer over to sweeter dishes like this, or dishes that don't have, you know, a strong, you could probably get by with making a chili with a curry smell, but this is, yuck, much better. Okay, so anyway, all right, so I've got this on here, and I'm going to go ahead and dump the mixture of nuts, seeds, and coconut milk, or coconut, jeez. I'm having a hard time today. Shredded coconut into the Instant Pot liner here. The bottom of this does tend to kind of turn into like nut butter, so it will stick and you will have to take a little time to try to get it out. Okay, So then once you've gotten in there, you're gonna add in 1 cup of water, because remember, you're pressure cooking this and you always have at least 1 cup of water in there. And then you're gonna do 2 teaspoons of coconut oil that's been melted, and 1 tablespoon of maple syrup or honey. Go ahead and give it a good mix. And you're gonna notice it, I'm gonna show this to you in a second, but it's gonna look kind of like a soupy, disgusting mess right now. Like nothing that's very appetizing. But it actually turns out into a nice thick porridge after it pressure cooks for the time. So you're just kind of like mixing it. You can see here, I'm mixing it to try to get rid of like some of the really big chunks. And you want to make sure that you're mixing it so that it is this like soupy mess, because I have had some people on the blog where the recipe is mention that they've gotten a burn reading. And I have a feeling it's probably because it hasn't been mixed up enough and you have some of the chunks just sitting on the bottom. And so you just want to make sure it's like a complete soupy, disgusting mess. So appetizing, but it really is really good. Okay, so it just looks like that. And then you're gonna just put it in here, put the lid on, plug it in, and this time we're gonna actually use the porridge function. So make sure your sealing valve has been turned to sealing. And then, if you can see this, I'm going to use the porridge function, and just make sure with the recipe that, okay. And then I'm gonna push it down until it reaches 3 minutes. Oops. And then I'm just gonna leave it. Make sure everything's all right. And then I'm gonna leave it until it's done. And you can quick release the pressure at the end if you want. I usually let it sit for 10 minutes and then quick release the pressure. I just like to do that in general, unless the recipe specifically says to quick release it right away, just so I'm not disturbing anything or making any big mess. That's just my personal preference. And then once it's done, in terms of like toppings, some things that are really good is you can top it with ghee, and I like to use the Tin Star Foods ghee, and ghee is just clarified butter. It's just basically the butter solids. So it's usually casein and lactose free, which are the 2 proteins that usually tend to bother people. And so if you are trying to figure out if dairy is an issue for you, ghee can sometimes work and still get you that buttery kind of taste. And I don't do well with casein or lactose, and ghee seems to be fine for me. So it's just a good, nice topping. Another one I like are dried goji berries. Again, you can usually get this in like the natural foods aisle. And they're just, it's like a superfood antioxidant, and they're really good. And same thing with cocoa nibs. They're not sweet. It's not like chocolate, but they're supposed to be really good, high in nutrients as well, antioxidants. And coconut sugar is another one. It's just, I think it's like dried coconut sap or something. And I just sprinkle that on top as well. You can also do dried fruit or fresh fruit or whatever. Seems like whatever you typically put on an oatmeal or something would be really good. I think I've made some peach butter, which is really like cooked down peaches. That would be just like delicious inside that. I should actually try that. But just different things like that. And that's it. Again, the recipe for this is in the comments if you want to get that. And that's it. So I guess I'll see you guys next Tuesday with something else. All right.